Thank you, Victoria, and it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to see so many people here. And it's also fantastic that it's such a sunny day, because it shows the potential in Victoria for a solution to replacing Hazelwood. Talk about politics, because I'm not a policymaker. I'm just a scientist, and what I'm going to talk about very briefly is the climate science behind why we need to close down Hazelwood. And I'm going to start by looking back from 60 or 70 years in the future. There are some young people here. In fact, there are many children here. And they will look back from 60 years in the future and say, who was to blame for the climate that they will be living through, that will be hotter, with more heat waves and more bushfires, and worst of all, sea level rise that will be inundating many people in low-lying areas, not only in Australia, but in islands in the Pacific, in low-lying areas in Southeast Asia, and in many, many parts of the world. And they will ask, who's to blame? And the answer is Hazelwood is partly to blame for causing climate change. Draw the dots. How do we connect the dots between climate change and the future impacts and what Hazelwood is doing? Hazelwood, as we've heard already, is the least efficient, worst polluting power station in Australia. It produces more greenhouse gases than any other power station in Australia for the amount of electricity it produces. So it's producing lots of carbon dioxide, putting it into the atmosphere every year. Carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere and has impacts for more than 1,000 years. It doesn't get removed quickly. So every hour, every day, and every year that Hazelwood is still being used, it's causing more climate change. That climate change, people will argue, is very small. Hazelwood is only one of many power stations, but in fact the emissions are really, really important. Climate change causes warming. Warming causes melting of ice and warming of the oceans, which cause sea level rise. 100 million people will be flooded due to sea level rise before the end of the century. And that's not 100 million people in total, it's 100 million people every year, subject to annual flooding from sea level rise for the very lowest estimate of sea level rise for any emission scenario. What is Hazelwood's share? It's only small. It's only 0.01%. That's a small number. That means that 10,000 people, the typical size of many country towns in Victoria, will be flooded annually, will have to leave their homes. So we can show that directly Hazelwood emissions will cause 10,000 people to have to leave their homes every year. What that means is Hazelwood is just as responsible for climate change as any other group. Closing down Hazelwood will prevent the damages due to the extra carbon dioxide that Hazelwood put in. So what do we need to do if we want to slow down climate change, if we want to avoid the damage? due to the emissions from Hazelwood, we need to not just close a quarter of Hazelwood, we need to close Hazelwood completely. We need to do that now. You will hear lots of people make two other arguments. They say, let's wait. Let's wait till there's a better solution. Let's wait till the evidence is clearer. Let's wait till carbon capture and storage, that dirty lie, is developed. Every hour, every day that we wait is actually making a conscious decision to make the problem worse. Do we want to make the problem worse by allowing Hazelwood to continue? The only way to not make the problem worse is to take action now to stop carbon dioxide emissions, and that is going to be helped by closing Hazelwood completely now. The other thing you will hear is that Hazelwood's really important. We need the energy, we need the jobs. It's really good. But how do you balance the damages against the good? Now, I'm not a lawyer. I know that there are some lawyers in the audience, and one of them is standing as a Greens candidate. And Brian Walters will tell you, no matter how many lives a doctor saves, if he kills someone intentionally, he can be tried for murder. Hazelwood is guilty of the damages from the climate change it's causing, and we need to stop it now. Thank you.
Thank you, David Karoly.